So if God knew everything, was free will ever really free? The little girl's question that stumped a theologian. Lacey, a bright-eyed 13-year-old, sat in the audience, her face scrunched in thought. The man on stage had been talking about God, free will and sin, but something wasn't sitting right with her. She raised her hand. Why didn't God stop Satan from creating sin? The crowd grew silent. The speaker, a seasoned theologian, paused, blinking. He had answered a lot of tough questions in his career, but this one had caught him off guard. He shifted his weight, buying time. Well, Lacey, he finally said, sometimes when people ask that question, I ask them, when's the last time God stopped you from creating sin? The audience chuckled, but Lacey didn't. She had a follow-up. I know it's about free will and everything, she said, but if God knew that all this was going to happen, why didn't he just stop it? A murmur spread through the crowd. The theologian cleared his throat. Because God can bring good even from the evil things we do, he said. He wanted a universe where people had the choice to love or not love. The only way to do that was to give them free will. Lacey nodded, but something still didn't add up, and she wasn't the only one wondering. The questions that break the logic. If God is all-powerful, why does free will require suffering? Couldn't he make a world where love exists without pain? If God can bring good from evil, why create evil in the first place? Wouldn't starting with good be, well, good enough? If sin was inevitable, does that mean God expected us to fail? That's like giving a toddler a chainsaw and hoping for the best. Did Satan actually create sin? Or do humans just need something external to blame for their own choices? If free will means we can choose love or not, is it really free if there's eternal punishment for the wrong answer, so love only exists because evil exists? If I love my mother, does that only count because I could have chosen to hate her? If God knew every choice we would make, was it ever really a choice? Or was it just a script we were always going to play out? If God gave free will, did Satan have free will too? And if so, why is his choice the only one that's unforgivable? If God stopped evil from existing, would we even be asking these questions? Or would we all just be chilling in paradise? Each question pulls at a thread, and the more you pull, the more the entire explanation begins to unravel. Free will or a rigged game? Imagine this. A parent tells their child, you can eat whatever you want for dinner. It's your choice. But then they add, oh, and if you don't pick the right food, you'll be grounded forever. Is that a real choice? Or coercion disguised as free will? Now scale that up to eternity. Pick love, you get heaven. Pick wrong, you get infinite suffering. That's not freedom. That's a rigged game. And if God is all-knowing, he already knew what we would choose before we were even born. So did we ever actually decide anything? Or was the entire play already written before the curtain even rose? And what about Satan? If humans get a second chance, why didn't Satan? If free will is real, shouldn't he have been given the opportunity to change? Or is free will only free when it applies to some beings? The question that changes everything. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe it's not about why God allowed sin, or why Satan wasn't stopped, or why we're stuck in a system that demands suffering to justify love. Maybe the real question is, who benefits from this setup? If we're convinced we're broken, we'll keep searching for something outside of ourselves to fix us. If we believe we're unworthy, we'll keep trying to earn grace. If we fear eternal punishment, we'll obey without question. But what if love was never conditional? What if we were never separate from it? What if we were never meant to see ourselves as sinful in the first place? Maybe free will isn't about choosing between good and evil. Maybe it's about waking up to the fact that we were never lost, never condemned, and never in need of saving, only in need of remembering. Because if love is real, it doesn't need an opposite to exist. And if God is truly all-powerful, he doesn't need suffering to prove a point.